Oh, it's a great day. Football tonight, even though Dolphins a big underdog at 12.5 points in Buffalo. We were talking about the yips, and Todd said, I think Chase Daniel broke down Arch Manning's game footage so far. He's got Texas against Sam Houston coming up this weekend for the mothership, and the word yips came up. You normally hear that with golfers or baseball players. Paulie has the definition according to the Mayo Clinic.
Yeah, the Mayo Clinic treats it as a real thing. They said the yips are involuntary wrist spasms that occur when people are playing sports like golf and other sports. But they said it was thought to be just a performance anxiety and mental. It could actually be a physicality thing with focal dystonia, which causes a neurological condition with specific muscles and causes them to contract. And they said the way to get around this is to use the muscles almost in a reverse order sometimes to relieve yourself of it.
I haven't heard quarterbacks having the yips, but I'm guessing short-arming the ball. But let me bring in Chase Daniel, the ESPN NFL college football analyst. He'll be on the call, Sam Houston versus Texas. That'll be on ESPN Plus SEC Network. All right. Does Arch Manning have the yips? And if so, what are the yips, Chase?
Yeah. I don't like to ever talk about a quarterback having the yips. Like in baseball, it was like when second baseman couldn't throw to first base. And it was always like something we don't talk about, right? And I don't know if it's the yips, but what I do know, and I went back because I'm obviously calling the game and looked at every single snap this year. And I even went back and looked at last year's snaps when he played. And I would just say, instead of the yips, I'll say mechanically there are a lot of things wrong with his throwing motion, from his feet not being in the right spot, to his arm angle not being in the right spot, to him grimacing when he throws the football. And I think that's the biggest thing. I don't think he's hurt, Dan. I really don't. I just think his motion and his throwing angle of his shoulder, I feel like everything's completely off. And I say this is specifically his back foot. Your back foot is a thrower. And I learned this from Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Tom House, who worked with that. He's like a renowned throwing coach. He lives right down the road from me. I've worked with him before. Your power comes from your feet up as a thrower. So anytime your feet aren't planted in the ground firmly, you don't get enough torque on the ball. You don't get enough power on the ball. Last year when I watched Arch Manning and all his snaps, his back foot was down until his arm came through, which is very mechanically correct, for lack of better words. This year, almost every throw, including in clean pockets, that back foot has come up. So his ball dies on him, specifically going to the right? We saw this 10-play, really this 20-play incompletion stretch, and it was 10 incompletions against UTEP. UTEP has one of the worst passing defenses in all of college football. It's who Texas played last week. And so my thing is, I don't know how you fix it, because you can get to the mechanical stuff, you can get to this and that. So I'm not going to call it the yips, but mechanically he looks completely different than he did last year.
But his head coach is a former quarterback. How does Steve Sarkisian not see this and maybe try to arrest it?
Well, he has seen it, and I think Texas is averaging over 40 carries a game. They're not throwing the football. And you've watched Sark's offenses in the past. They like to throw the football. They're not getting Ryan Wingo, their number one receiver, involved. They don't look like an offense that I've seen Texas look like before. And when the Ohio State Texas game, right? Everyone was like, oh, it's obviously Arch didn't play well, but Sark's it's a manageable game plan. So I thought they did really good stuff on offense. And if you look at all three of their games they played, Dan, there's stuff open. Arch is just missing it. He's not accurate.
Yeah. And I've seen that with, Caleb Williams sometimes, C.J. Stroud so far this year. You broke down Caleb Williams. Help me understand, because it feels like there's a whole lot more going on in Chicago after two games than there should be.
Yeah, and when it comes to Caleb, it's like you get the really good in small spurts and then some of the bad the rest of the game, right? You look at the first half on both of his games that he's played this year. I thought he's played pretty well. Mechanically and physically and just mentally, this past game versus Detroit, I know they got killed. but I thought he played pretty well. And I thought it was one of his better halves as a pro, just the first half. But then it got out of hand and they got the defensive issues. I think with Caleb, it's always been in his mind. Like physically, we know the talent is there. And he gets into a rhythm at times when he's not doing well. He tries to do too much. And I think that's what Ben Johnson doesn't want him to do. We have an offense. We got to get Swift involved. We have 3 really good receivers. We have 2 really good tight ends. We paid $1 million for the interior of that offensive line. They have all the talent in the world. Sometimes, Dan, it's just between the ears for some of these guys. And if they can understand how to play the game, and it's new in this marriage with Ben Johnson, that's when I think they'll really be good. But they got to fix other issues. Like their defense right now is just, it's not good.
But it feels like Caleb Williams, sometimes with players who have so much talent, they can't do the mundane. And there are times as a quarterback where you're like, all right, I'm going to take a sap. I'm going to throw this away. We're only going to get 5 yards. They want to make a play. It's almost like you want to hit a 8-run home run when you go to the plate, when you've been in a slump. And it feels like Caleb wants to do so much more because we expect him to do so much more.
That's exactly right. And look, Drew Brees used to, I backed him up for 5 years. He used to say, hey, quarterback's boring. Like quarterback's boring. There's going to be some games where this team just plays in too high safety look, and we're just going to have to throw hitch after hitch after hitch. And then maybe we'll get an in route, and maybe we'll get a go ball down the sideline when they're a man, and I'll check to it. That's sort of the weekly minutia of playing quarterback because you don't know how any given defense is going to play you on Sunday. And you could have an entire game plan. We had it all the time in New Orleans. Was the game plan was like, throw the ball deep. You know what? Sean Payton would call 15 of his run action shot plays down the field where it's a post. And you know what? Drew would check it down to the quarterback. You know what? It would travel 5 yards in the air, but that running back and Mark Ingram would go for 20. And so the passing yards look good. I do think that he's forcing stuff down the field, but playing quarterback, it's got to be boring sometimes in some of these games. Not every game is one the same.
He's Chase Daniel. He'll be on the Call Texas Sam Houston on ESPN Plus, SEC Network, and a co-host of the Athletic Scoop City podcast. Also, the YouTube channel, Must See TV, the Chase Daniel Show, as he breaks down these quarterbacks. You've fallen in love with Dak Prescott so far, even though I look at his quarterback rating, and it's not a very good rating. It's 23rd. So what are you seeing that we're not seeing?
Well, I just think that, look, when Dak is healthy, and the first time truly healthy since 2 years ago where he finished second in the MVP voting, I think right now, the rating doesn't tell the story. When I look at his film and I just look purely at the quarterback position, forget about those around him, forget about how the way he's operating, not only throwing the football down the field, not only fitting in tight window throws when needed. He's not forcing the football down the field. He's controlling the line of scrimmage. He's getting the Cowboys to in and out of the right plays. Now, look, they almost stole a game on the road in Philly versus a very good Philly team. We all know how we feel about Philly. I thought he played excellent in that game, right? He's had some dropped interceptions, so it's made it look better. But you look at the Giants game, and you look at the multiple 2-minute drives that he's had to have. Like that's what the NFL comes down to is can you make plays in 2-minute drives and 2-minute drills? And he had 3 drives over the course of the fourth quarter and overtime where he willed his team to victory. And I know that Dak gets a lot of haters. I know I'm not talking about the Cowboys team in general because I don't think they're that good. I think offensively they're much better than they were last year or even the year before. Now, and that comes from Brian Schottenheimer. He's using a lot of pre-snap motion. So he's letting Dak Prescott see the answers to the test before the test is given. Hey, give me a man zone read. Give me a slot formation. Give me all this. I just think the offense is attacking more. They actually have something in that running back and Williams as well. And when Dak has had a run game in the past, he's been really well.
You got the Chiefs and the Giants coming up this weekend. Now I'm looking at the schedule. This is a tough schedule. So, okay, you get by the Giants. Now you got the Ravens. You got Jacksonville in Jacksonville. You got the Lions. You got the Raiders. Then you got the Commanders, and then you got the Buffalo Bills. That's pretty tough sledding. That's pretty tough for a team that's waiting to get its 2 best receivers back. And Kelsey hasn't stood out. Mahomes is trying. It feels like he's trying to do something to get this team fired up. He's actually running and taking on defensive backs. And I don't know. Help me
Yeah.
understand handicap the Chiefs here first half of the season. What do you think?
Yeah, look, 0-2, right? First time since 2014, and I was actually on that team, and we didn't end up making the playoffs. Um, the thing with the Chiefs this year, where I think they have struggled to get a little bit better, is obviously like they haven't had their receivers, right? They haven't had Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, or Xavier Worthy in 2 years on the field at the same time. That is a completely different receiver core than they've had to do, obviously, with Travis Kelce getting older. He's not as much of a factor as he can. I thought the offensive line really is still the issue, specifically left guard and Kingsley Sumatia. He's just not playing at a high level, especially against Philly. And when you look at their offense, they wanted to be a throw it down the field offense. That sort of escaped them from their offensive game plans really the last 2 or 3 years without Tyreek. They wanted to do that this year. They've had to make adjustments and change the way they've played the game. And it's been Patrick Mahomes running the football. I don't want him leading the league and rushing the football for quarterbacks. That's not what he does, right? But he's had to do that. And I look at their schedule, and I'm glad you brought that up. If they can be 3-3 after the Ravens and Lions, I think it's the Lions, the last one. If they can just get to 3-3, and they did this a couple years ago, where they get into a rhythm, they find out who they are offensively, they get all their guys back. I think that the Chiefs can still be the Chiefs. Like I just think it's way too early to write them off. And I know all these people are like, 0-2, it's impossible to make like a 12% chance to make the playoffs. I just think like their defense is still really good. And if they can get some wins against some quality opponents and just get to 500 through 6 games, then I mean, look, the 1 seed might be out the table if they do that, right? But as long as they get into the tournament, man, it's the Chiefs are the Chiefs for me.
I know you've watched film of Baker Mayfield, and it's weird how people still aren't accepting of Baker Mayfield. He had an incredible year last year. It's like, hey, you got kicked to the curb by the Browns. You were with Carolina. You were with the Rams. You know, you're damaged goods. And then all of a sudden, hey, you got to compete with Kyle Trask in Tampa Bay. I mean, I don't. Is it maybe his persona that people have a problem with, or I don't know what it is, but he's one of those guys that he knows how to win, and he's gonna play tough for you. What did you see from him? Is there anything different this year than last year?
No, I love Baker. Dan, I would say the last 2 years he's played really well. Like actually really, really good. He's played, if you just look at the stats, and I don't love doing it all the time, he's played like a top 8 quarterback in the league, like in every major category. And the thing I liked about this year is both of their games came down to the last play of the game, and he has willed his team to win. He's got a strong arm. He's got all that stuff. I do think the offense in Tampa has really fit him well. Now he has 3 complete studs to throw to at receiver. So that helps. Offensively, they're explosive. He's also played without 5 starters too. So just the way he's been playing, I think people like to hate on Baker because of his demeanor and because of the stuff he does. And, you know, he can be polarizing to some. I love it. Like I want my quarterback to have that to him. I think he's got to have swagger. I think he's got to have confidence. And the thing is, he's backed it up. So when you watch him, he's not really wowing him. I mean, look at the 2-minute drive. And if you actually, this past weekend, if you actually break down the 2-minute drive to win the game against the Texans, which I think that defense is pretty good. They can rush a passer really well. He didn't throw the football more than 6 yards down the field. He was taking what the defense gives you. It was just classic 2-minute drive, like what coaches tell you and what coaches speak is like, hey, just take the open guy. Just take the open guy. And then he takes off on 4th down and scrambles and uses his legs, and they end up winning the game. He's the ultimate, I'm not going to do too much, but I'm going to make plays when I need to. I think he's playing like a top 5 quarterback in the league right now.
What would you have to see before you would pick the Chargers to be the best team in the AFC?
Oh man, aren't they like up there already, right, Dan?
Do you think would you take them over Buffalo or the Ravens right now, head to head?
I would take them over the Ravens because of defensively how they're doing, and at this specific moment, how Justin Herbert is playing. Because I think Justin Herbert's a new person and a new man, right? He's dating Madison Beer. He's got all this Hollywood stuff. It's a completely different Justin Herbert than I'm used to. And I like that. He's gotten out of his shell. He just does not care what people think. He's got all the money. He's got that. He's got the fit. But the thing is, like, at who he is at his core, he is a football dude. And those football dudes between him and Harbaugh, they make it work. Now Quentin Johnston for the Chargers, he's taken a next step, right? They got Keenan Allen back. I can't tell you how important that is. They got Shane Day back, and he's the quarterback coach. And Shane Day, I'm telling you, is the secret sauce to this because him and Justin work so well behind the scenes together. And then you look at that defense, I think, one of the best scoring defenses in all of football. I do think the Bills right now are the class of the AFC, and you can make a case for the Ravens, right? You absolutely could, because I think they're loaded again. I just think this is the year that Justin Herbert he gets a playoff win. Like I really do think that, and I think they've built it the right way. And you just look at Jim Harbaugh, man, like just what he's been able to do in the first and second years of the programs. He took them to I think they're built the right way.
Just need to avoid Buffalo in the wintertime in the playoffs.
There you go.
Finish this. If the Dolphins get blown out tonight.
Oh, don't. I don't know if McDade will get fired or not. I don't know. I just, when I watch Miami on film, it's rough and it's brutal. And a lot of it is coaching. So I'm going to say the head coach doesn't get fired. It's too early in the season. I do think that, time's running out though. And with a roster that I think's somewhat talented, and with a quarterback that I'm sort of mixed on, I think he's really good at timing throws. I think that's all the case. And you look at the history between these two; they don't really get blown out. I think they're going to put up a lot of points tonight. If I was a betting man, I'd take the over.
But what does Mike McDaniel do? You said coaching. So what is he doing or not doing?
I just think their team's not ready to play.
But how does that happen?
Yeah. I mean,
they are professionals. They're professionals, though, Chase. I mean, how much is this on the coach? How much is this on the captains to say, guys,
100%,
we're lame?
And yeah, exactly. And I do think that the head coach in some of these situations, specifically in college or specifically in the NFL, it's like, hey, like you can only do so much in the NFL to get your guys. They're grown men. They need to be ready to play. You give them the game plan. There are specific things maybe that maybe they're not prepared for, whether it's offensive scheme stuff from what the defense is doing or defensive scheme stuff or too many men on the field. They've played sloppy football, specifically on offense. And so, yeah, I would agree with you. Like the coach probably gets too much blame for that. But at the end of the day, the product you put out on the field is the coach's responsibility.
Have fun with Texas and Sam Houston. Good to break bread with you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan.
That's Chase Daniel. He'll have the call on ESPN Plus. It's Texas and Sam Houston. The Chase Daniel Show on YouTube. He breaks down all of these quarterbacks. And the Athletic Scoop City with Diana Rossini is great as well. All right, we'll take a break. Play of the day next.